Hey, hello, and welcome to this episode of Learn Everyday English, your roadway to English proficiency. It's another kind of dreary day outside. It was raining a little bit, which we need the rain, so I'm happy about that. But it's kind of a day I wanted to do some things outside, but it looks like I won't be able to because of the weather. But I'm using this as taking advantage of it, where I can record a few videos for this Learn Everyday English YouTube channel. But before I get into the topic today, there are 3 things you can do for me. 1, like the video. 2, subscribe to the channel. 3, hey, tell your friends about it so that they can benefit from these videos too, just like you. Okay, what are we going to be talking about today? Use this video to practice your listening comprehension. And maybe we're going to be talking about, I have 42 questions about myself that I'm going to ask myself and answer for you. And this might be a good practice for you. Take these questions and try to answer them yourself in English, as if somebody were doing an interview with you or asking you these questions. How would you answer them in English? This be good English practice. Hey, if you want to record a video and let me look at it, I'd love to do that for you and learn a little bit more about you and the listeners, the people that like to watch this channel. Well, let's jump right in. The first question is, where were you born? Well, I was born in a city called Butler, Pennsylvania. Butler is a city in the state of Pennsylvania, which is in the northeast part of the U.S. And I was born there because my father was in the Army, and we moved around a little bit when I was young. So I was born in Butler, Pennsylvania, but only lived there maybe 6 months, and then we moved. The second question is, how old are you? Well, I'm 60 years old. I turned 60 in September. And I'm, blessed and to have seen 60 years old, and say here's to many more years. The third question is, where are your parents from? Well, my parents were from the state of Louisiana, which is a state to the east of Texas. They grew up in the western or southwest part of Louisiana called Acadiana. And there are a lot of say Creole and Cajun people, which have kind of roots or descendants from the French Canadian people that came from Canada and moved to Louisiana. So there was a lot of, say, mixing or intermixing of the races, the whites and the white people and the black people. So you have Cajun people, or the white people, we say, and then the Creole people are kind of the people that are the mix of the whites and the blacks there in Louisiana. And interestingly enough, my parents were able to speak Creole French. It's a type of French that's spoken in Louisiana. But sadly, I never learned how to speak that, because they only spoke this Creole French when they didn't want me and my brother to know what they were talking about. Okay, the next question is, do you have any siblings? Siblings is just another word that means brothers or sisters. So do you have any siblings, or do you have any brothers or sisters? Yes, I have just one brother, and we are twin brothers, and he lives about an hour from me here in Houston. Number 5, where did you grow up and where have you lived? So like I said, I was born in Butler, Pennsylvania. Then my father, we moved back to Louisiana for a while. Then since he was in the Army, we moved to Nevada and lived on an Air Force base there near Las Vegas for about 5 years. And then we moved to an Army base in the state of Maryland. We lived there for 5 years. Then my father retired in the early 1970s. We moved back to Louisiana for a short period of time, and then finally we moved to Houston, Texas, and I grew up there, and from 6th grade in school all the way until about 8 years ago I lived in Houston. What religion do you practice? Well, I'm a Christian, I say that. I grew up as a Catholic because my family is Catholic, and in Southwest Louisiana it's a lot of Catholics there. But I now am a Protestant, which is, if you're not Catholic here in the U.S., you're Protestant. And I go to what's called a non-denominational church. 7th question, have you studied any foreign languages? Yes, I have. You might know I studied Spanish in high school. And then for about 3 years, I studied Mandarin Chinese. I have a video about that. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link to that video. And I studied that for about 3 years because my first wife was Chinese from Malaysia. And then now I've been studying Spanish again for about 5 to 6 years. Have you traveled to any countries outside of the United States? Yes, I've been to Mexico. I've been to one of the border cities, Nuevo Laredo. Been to Playa del Carmen, flew into Cancun. I've been to Tulum, Coba over there, the Riviera Maya. And this summer I went to Mexico City, la Ciudad de Mexico, y also San Miguel de Allende. And then for our honeymoon about 8 years ago, my wife and I went to Costa Rica, pura vida, and loved it. So I'd like to go back to Costa Rica. You definitely like to go back to Mexico. What is or what was your favorite country? I have to say it was a toss-up, we say in English. It was a toss-up, which means it was kind of a tie. I've only been to 2 countries, but I have to say I like Costa Rica and Mexico equally or the same. I just love Costa Rica, the environment, the atmosphere, and then I really enjoyed the trip, loved the trip to Mexico City and San Miguel. So I can't decide which one. I love them both. What has been your favorite place to visit in the United States? I have to say my favorite place, and here I have to say it's kind of a tie. I've been to Santa Fe, New Mexico, Sedona, Arizona. Been to a lot of places in the U.S., Texas Hill Country, Arkansas. But I'd have to say my favorite, it's a tie really. It's New Mexico, Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Sedona, Arizona. So I've been to Alaska too. It's very nice, pretty up there, just kind of cold. But I have to say my 2 places vacation in the U.S. were Sedona, Arizona, and Santa Fe, New Mexico. Would you rather vacation in Hawaii or Alaska and why? This is a no-brainer, we say in English. Like I don't have to think about it. I would rather vacation in Hawaii because I'm a kind of cold-natured person. I don't like cold weather very much, although Alaska was very beautiful. I much rather be in Hawaii with the warmer weather, with the beach. That type of scenery is more to my liking. So that's a pretty easy question. Hawaii wins out. What is your favorite food? Well, my favorite food now, as many of you probably know, I have a health problem and a very limited diet. I can't eat very many types of foods, no carbs, starches, sugars. So I'm limited to meat and vegetables mainly. So my favorite food, I have to say, is baked or grilled chicken. What is your second favorite food? Well, my second favorite food would have to be either maybe a good piece of salmon, or maybe like grilled buffalo or steak, some type of good grilled steak. What is your favorite drink? Well, this is kind of unfair to me because I can't drink a lot of sugary stuff, and for the most part, I just drink water. So I do drink some V8 tomato juice, so I'd probably say that is my favorite drink, V8 tomato juice or kind of vegetable juice. Let's see, what is your favorite color? My favorite color has to be, I'd say, blue. I don't know why, I just like the blue color. It's kind of soothing and relaxing for me. What is your favorite number? My favorite number is 35, and it's just a number that seems good in my mind. I don't know why, but it's 35. Well, did you go to college and what did you study? Yes, I went to college. I went to the University of Houston and studied civil engineering. What kind of work do you do or have you done? So like I said, I studied civil engineering in college, and right out of college, after I graduated, well, during college, I interviewed with the city of Houston. So when I graduated, I had a job already lined up, we say, kind of waiting for me. So I started working right after I graduated from college. And I worked in water engineering for the city of Houston, where we kind of design water line replacement projects, say water plants, that type of thing. Then I worked there 6 years, and then for the last 24 years, I worked in the solid waste management department. I initially went there to work in the recycling division. So that's when recycling was just starting to, say, take off or become popular in the U.S., and I was able to develop and initiate and put together new recycling programs in the city to collect the recyclables. And I did that for a long time. And in my last 6 years, I worked in the office of the director for solid waste as chief of staff. So I was kind of his right-hand man or right-hand person. And I had a lot of responsibility. And it was a good experience, a good career. It was a lot of, at the last 6 years, it was a lot of work, a lot of stress. So I worked 30 years for the city, and after that was lucky enough to be able to retire after that. Let's see. What are your hobbies? Well, listen, my hobbies are, one, I like to play musical instruments. I like to play the ukulele. I have a bass guitar. I'm trying to learn to play the Irish penny whistle. But two, I play the djembe drums. I'm a member of a djembe drum ensemble group where we practice twice a month in Houston, and we have performances or shows around in the Houston area. And also I like to do photography, and as you know, I like to study Spanish. So those are the hobbies. What is your favorite hobby? So I have to say my favorite hobby is el español, or Spanish. I do that every day now. I wasn't so consistent, but for the past at least year, maybe two, I've tried to do something every day. And I'm being retired, I have the time, so it's easier for me than a lot of other people. But yeah, I study Spanish every day. It's just now become a passion of mine, because now I can see that I'm improving. Things I was not able to understand before, programs I would watch and I didn't understand much. Now I can understand, not everything, but I can understand a large percentage or majority. So I'm encouraged now to just keep improving my level of Spanish. What is your second favorite hobby? Good question. Well, my second favorite hobby is probably maybe doing some type of exercise. I like to walk, ride my e-bike, and work out and that type of thing. Because you have to stay fit, and especially as we get older, once you stop working out, exercising, it's hard to return or start doing that again. So I need to try to maintain a level of exercise. Let's see what's next. What is your favorite book? Good question. My favorite book, well, I'll give you two answers. My favorite book, one would be the Bible, as being a Christian, because I think it has a lot of information or wisdom that we can learn from it. Very helpful. But also I read a book called The Distance Between Us, La Distancia Entre Nosotros. And it's a book that was written by an author from Mexico, Reina Grande. And it was I read it in Spanish, but it was very interesting, good book, and it talked about the struggle or the story of people in Mexico who tried to go to the other side or make it into the United States, trying to seek a better life for themselves. And it talked about the trials and the difficulties that people have to go through. And I also have to say there's another book that I read in college, and I have to put this book in there also. It was called The Search for Significance. And I read that in college, and I guess there's another question I'm going to answer, but it was a book that really made a big impact on my life and kind of turned my life around, changed my whole perspective on life, what is important in life, and I'll talk about that later. But the book's, Search for Significance means that everybody in life, in the world, wants to be significant, right? We want to be known for something. We want to have some type of importance. People will find something important about us. And it varies. How do you try to measure your importance or your significance in life? What makes you significant? A lot of people, maybe money, it may be power, it may be education. And we try to impress or please people. We do things in life maybe that we don't really want to do, we shouldn't be doing, but we do that because we just want to feel important and significant in life. And I remember for me at the time, and this was in high school and college, grades, how well I did in school was very important for me. And I would stress out a lot. I put too much pressure on myself. And I read this book and it said, hey, what you're trying to do to be significant is trying to do that through how smart you are, what type of grades you can get, trying to get good grades. And I realized that wasn't true, that wasn't accurate. I didn't need to do that to feel that I was significant. So that was called The Search for Significance. See, what is your favorite movie? Well, I have to say my favorite movie was probably the series, maybe Lord of the Rings. I always had kind of an interest in fantasy, science fiction growing up. I read The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit when I was like in high school, and when the movie came out, I really enjoyed that. So I have to say probably the Lord of the Rings series. Next question, if money were no object, where would you like to travel to? So if money were no object, that means if you didn't have to worry about money, if you had enough money in the world that you didn't have to worry about how are you going to pay for it, where would you like to travel to? I remember as a kid growing up, I always wanted to go to Tahiti, which is in the South Pacific in French Polynesia, because it was so exotic. I'd still like to go there, but I'd really like to go to, I guess, the area in Italy, Spain, and Greece. I'd probably travel there. If money were no object, what vehicle would you buy? Well, if money were no object, I'd probably buy I really like here in Texas, pickup trucks are popular. I really like the Chevy Silverado or Ford pickup trucks. They're very comfortable, and but very expensive. They can run $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. So I'd probably get a Ford F-150 or a Chevy Silverado pickup truck. If money were no object, where would you like to live? Good question. I think I'd still like to live either here in the United States because of this health issue I have. I really like Sedona, Arizona. It's just the scenery there, just so beautiful. Or maybe even Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'd have to say I don't like cold weather, so I couldn't live up north. California seems to be having some issues, but I guess if money were no issue, San Diego, I've never been there, but I hear that's a very nice place to live, and the weather is beautiful there. If you won $1 million, what would you do with the money? How would you spend it? If I won $1 million, I would probably, maybe buy another house, relocate somewhere here in Texas. I would like to live on a lake, and but I also like to help out family members who could benefit from some of the money. Pay it forward to family, and maybe use it to help people. So there's a lot of things, but make sure I have enough where I can live, the rest of my life comfortably on. That's something I'm going to have to think about, but it would be to help others as well would be a big portion of that. 29, who is your hero? Who is your hero? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if I say I have a specific person or hero in mind. I'd have to say, as a Christian, I would say Jesus Christ, because he is an example that I try to follow, to show love, compassion to fellow human beings. So I'd have to say, right now, I guess he would be my hero. What would you change about yourself if you could? And this is an easy question for me, because it has to do with my health situation. If I could change one thing, it would be that I would not have to deal with this stomach gastroparesis issue that I have, and then I would be able to just eat like a normal person. That's a no-brainer for me. If I could change one thing about myself, it would be this physical thing. What really makes you angry? I'm a very calm person. I don't get angry very often, and it's hard to make me angry. But what really makes me angry is, I'd have to say, hypocrisy. Do you know what hypocrisy is? People who maybe say one thing, but then they act totally different from who they are. People who say they are Christians, but who don't act like it. Who cuss and do things that are the exact opposite of what a Christian person should do. Or people that have, let's say, one set of rules that apply to themselves, and it's okay for them to do it, but if you do it, oh, you're definitely wrong, and they have to point it out to you. You're not being fair. I guess injustice really, say, burns me up. That means really makes me angry. That's things that make me angry. Injustice and hypocrisy. What are some of your proudest achievements or accomplishments? I guess I have two I could think of. One was I was able to have a good career at the city of Houston, work 30 years there, and retire at a fairly young age. There were many times I didn't feel like going to work. There were times I felt like I wanted to quit. There were times I felt like I wanted to find another job or do something else. But times that were very, very stressful. But I hung in there, as we say in English, and I'm glad I did. And I was able to retire after 30 years at I think at 55 years old. So I'm blessed for that. And another accomplishment I have to say is my learning Spanish. Because I remember when I started, I said to myself, man, I'm never going to be able to learn Spanish. I'm never going to be able to understand people as they speak, because it was so difficult, so hard. But now that I've come to this level where I am now, I feel very accomplished or proud of myself. I've been able to achieve this, and it's taken a lot of time, a lot of hard work. So those are my accomplishments that I'm proud of. What are you thankful for? Well, I say my prayers every night. I'm thankful that I have health, the health that I do have, although it's not perfect or the best. I'm still alive. I have a roof over my head. I have enough food to eat. I have a pension. I'm not rich, but I have just enough money to live okay with. And I have a wonderful wife who loves me. We love each other. I have good family and friends. So that's what I'm thankful for. What did you want to be when you were growing up? I remember as a kid, first I wanted to own a grocery store where people would come in and buy groceries from me, and that changed. And I remember I wanted to be a airline pilot and fly planes. Then I wanted to be an ecologist, go into ecology. And actually in high school, I really wanted to do that. And I applied to a school and was accepted in Florida in their ecology program. But then a guidance counselor in high school told me, hey, that's going to be very difficult to find a good job. You need to go into engineering because there's a lot of opportunity there. So I listened to the guidance counselor, and in the long run it worked out well. But sometimes I think I should have followed my heart and just gone into ecology. But so I have some regrets there, but it's too late, to change things now. What is your favorite game or sport to watch and play on TV? That's a good question. I really love to watch, I love to watch college football, American football. I don't really like pro football as much. And I really like to watch the World Cup soccer. I don't like to watch, soccer that much, but when it gets to the high level World Cup competition, I really like to watch the World Cup, and I really like to watch college football. I do like to watch a lot of other sports, but I'd have to say those are the two I like to watch. To play sports, I don't really, I'd say doing like Tai Chi or type of martial arts, Kung Fu, and just kind of walking or just exercise in general is what I like to do. What is your favorite thing to watch on TV? And I have to say, I'm probably a junkie, but I'm a YouTube junkie, and I think I've mentioned this before, so I really just like to watch different programs on YouTube because I just love to learn about new things, new people, cultures, countries. So I'll watch a lot of YouTube videos, English and in Spanish, because it's a good way for me to learn, improve my Spanish, but also like to watch and learn a lot of things on YouTube. So I probably have to say watching YouTube, and also on regular TV, and you might find this interesting. I like to watch the cooking channel, and one show that I really like to watch is a show called Chopped, where you have 4 people compete against each other to be the best chopped champion for the episode. So I really like to watch that. If you could hire someone to help you, would it be with cleaning, cooking, or yard work? This is a no-brainer. I would rather hire someone to do cleaning. I don't really like to do that in the house, vacuuming. But cooking and yard work, I pretty much cook almost every day for myself, so I'm used to that. I don't mind that, and I do the yard work, and so it would have to be cleaning. If you could go back in time, what year would you travel to? I would have to travel to the year, I guess, 33 AD, the time that Jesus was walking the earth, because I would like to be around and actually see him as he walked on this earth and the things that he did. So I'd have to say that's where I would like to travel back in time to. There's 4 more questions. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? I have to say I'm more of an introvert, but I'm kind of a people person. I like to talk and have conversations with people. And I think I'm good at that, and people like to talk to me, but I don't like to be the life of the party, we say in English, or I don't like to have all the attention on myself. So I'd have to say I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. Hey, have you had any turning points or aha moments in your life? Yeah, I'd have to say when I mentioned the book I read, The Search for Significance, was really a turning point in my life. Since then, I was put a lot of pressure on myself to try to make good grades. I would kind of stress out on that. Then I read this book, and it said, hey, you don't have to find significance in doing well in school and getting good grades. Your significance comes from your relationship with God and Jesus Christ as a Christian. And he loves you and accepts you just the way you are. You don't have to try to do anything more than that or be special. And a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, that's right. Why am I putting all this pressure on myself? And that totally changed my way of thinking. It totally changed my life. The amount of pressure I put on myself decreased dramatically. And ever since then, have been kind of a totally different person. What do you do to deal with a stressful situation? Well, when I deal with a stressful situation, I pray. And there's scripture that I try to memorize, Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard your hearts and mind in Christ Jesus. So sometimes I just lying in bed, I can't sleep, I pray that. And miraculously or surprisingly, it helps. I find peace and I'm able to relax. And this specific prayer helped me out a lot when I was working at the city. I was going through a very, very stressful period of time. I had a lady that worked for me, and she filed a discrimination lawsuit against me and the director, which was later found to be, say, frivolous. It had no merit. What she said was totally inaccurate and untrue. She was upset about something, but it caused me a lot of sleepless nights and worry. And I would pray this prayer and it would help me fall asleep. So that's what I do to try to de-stress when mental stress. Physically, I just like to, walk or ride my bike. I find that helps to de-stress. And the last question, what are some things about you or that you have done that would surprise people? I maybe mentioned these before, but I studied Mandarin Chinese for 3 years. And I've studied Tai Chi, which is the kind of a Chinese exercise / martial art, for 30 years. I started doing that when I was 30 years old, when I first had this health problem. And I've been doing it ever since. And I actually been teaching Tai Chi. I've taught here before the pandemic. I taught at the school I studied at for quite a long time. 7-8 years, and the school closed. When I retired, when I was at the city too, I taught Tai Chi to employees there. When I retired, I moved here and I taught Tai Chi at a gym and also at the public library and at the YMCA. So I've taught Tai Chi and studied Tai Chi. So those are maybe 2 things that you might find surprising about me. And 3, I have a twin brother. A lot of people say we sound just alike and we look alike. He's been on a couple videos too, so check those out. I may put those in the link. So hopefully I didn't drag this on too long, but these are 42 questions about myself. So hopefully you learned something about me. Let me know a few things about yourself. Did you find these questions interesting? Like I said, if you want to try to practice your English, act like you're in an interview and try to answer these questions in English. Okay? So again, thanks for watching. Again, like the video, subscribe, and tell your friends about this channel. And thanks for watching this episode of Learn Everyday English. Hey, we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.